What is eternal life? Eternal life begins with baptism. It continues through death and will have no end. Even when we are simply in love, we want this state of affairs to last forever. God is love, says the first letter of John, 1 John chapter 4, verse 16. Love, says the first letter to the Corinthians, never ends. Or 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 8. God is eternal because He is love, and love is everlasting because it is divine. If we are in love, we enter into God's endless presence. Will we be brought to judgment after death? The so-called particular or personal judgment occurs at the moment of death of the individuals. The general judgment, which is also called the last judgment, occurs on the last day at the end of the world when the Lord comes again. In dying, every man arrives at the moment of truth. Now it is no longer possible to repress or conceal anything. Nothing more than can be changed. God sees as we are. We come before this tribunal where all is made right. For if we are to be in God, wholly present at all, we must be right with Him, as right as God wanted us to be when He created us.
What is heaven? Heaven is the endless moment of love. Nothing more separates us from God, whom our soul loves and has sought our whole life long. Together with all the angels and saints, we will be able to rejoice forever in and with God. If you have ever observed a couple looking at each other lovingly, or seen a baby nursing who looks for his mother's eyes as thought it wanted to store up every smile forever, then you have some inkling of heaven. To be able to see God face to face, that is like one single, never-ending moment of love.
What is purgatory? Purgatory, often imagined as a place, is actually a condition, someone who dies in God's grace and therefore at peace with God and man, but who still needs purification before he can see God face to face, is in purgatory. When Peter had betrayed Jesus, the Lord turned around and looked at Peter, and Peter went out and wept bitterly. A feeling like being in a purgatory, just such a purgatory probably awaits most of us at the moment of our death. The Lord looks at us full of love. Experience burning shame and painful remorse over our weak or merely unloving behavior. Only after this purifying pain will be capable of meeting His loving gaze in untroubled heavenly joy.
Can we help the departed who are in the condition of purgatory? Yes, since all those who are baptized into Christ form one communion and are united with one another, the living can also help the souls and faithful departed in purgatory. When a man is dead, he can do nothing more for himself. The time of active provision is past, but we can do something for the faithful departed in purgatory. Our love extends into the afterlife through our fasting, prayers, and good works, but especially through the celebration of Holy Eucharist, we can obtain grace for the departed.
What is hell? Hell is the condition of everlasting separation from God, the absolute absence of love. Someone who consciously and with full consent dies in serious sin, without repenting and refuses God merciful, forgiving love forever, excludes himself from communion with God and the saints. We do not know whether anyone at the moment of death can look absolute love in the face and still say no, but our freedom makes that decision possible. Jesus warns us again and again not to separate ourselves definitively from Him by shutting our hearts against the needs of His brothers and sisters. Depart from me, you cursed, as you did not to one of the least of these. You did it not to me.
But if God is love, how can there be a hell? God is not dumb man. Man himself is the one who refuses God's merciful love and voluntarily deprives himself of eternal life by excluding himself from communion with God. God yearns for communion even with the worst sinner. He wants everyone to convert and be saved. Yet God created man to be free and respects his decisions. Even God cannot compel love. As a lover, he is powerless when someone chooses hell instead of heaven.
What is the last judgment? The last judgment will take place at the end of the world, at the second coming of Christ. All who are in the tombs will hear his voice and come forth.
How will the world come to an end? At the end of the time, God will create a new heaven and a new earth. Evil will no longer have any power or attractiveness. The redeemed will stand face to face with God as his friends. Their yearning for peace and justice will be fulfilled. To behold God will be their blessedness. The triune God will dwell among them and wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, sorrow, lamentation, or trouble.
Why do we say amen to the profession of our faith? We say amen, yes, to the profession of our faith, because God appoints us witnesses to the faith. Anyone who says amen assents freely and gladly to God's work in creation and redemption. The Hebrew word amen comes from a family of words that mean both faith and steadfastness, reliability, fidelity. He who says amen writes his signature, St. Augustine. We can pronounce this unconditional yes only because Jesus in his death and resurrection has proved to be faithful and trustworthy for us. He himself is the human yes to all God's promises, just as he is also God's definitive yes to us.